Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Allure of the Poor. Today, I have something special. I am going out of my comfort zone today, and we are talking craft cocktails. But I have Lauren Butler and Brandon Alper of Yes Cocktail Company who are going to make it into my comfort zone because they're going to talk me through how to make a craft cocktail. So welcome. Hello, Lauren and Brandon.
Hi.
How are you
Hello.
guys?
We're great. Thank you so much for having us.
Excited.
Absolutely. Now, first off, everybody who listens to this podcast knows what a huge Paso proponent I am. So I am thrilled to be able to take another small business that is in Paso and give it some, well-deserved kudos and a spotlight on them. So thank you for coming on and sharing your craft cocktail knowledge with me and my listeners.
Yeah,
Of course.
absolutely. We're definitely Paso proud, and we love anybody who loves Paso. It's such a great wine region to come visit, and it's still kind of a little bit of a hidden gem. So we love it too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So my first question is always, how did you get into the business? So like craft cocktails, how did you guys say, yeah, I think I'm going to start a business of craft cocktails?
That's always the first question.
Yeah. It actually starts back when Lauren and I met. Before we were in the craft cocktail business, we were both actors by trade. And one of the things we bonded over when we were performing together was our love of cocktails.
Yes,
And
we always liked to drink, but definitely as actors did not really have the budget to do so. It's not exactly a lucrative career choice. And we were theater actors.
Right.
So we definitely loved cocktails, loved drinking, and we wanted to make our own stuff at home. So after a 3-year international tour with a children's theater company, we decided to settle here in the Paso area and try our hand at making some of the things I had been making at home, which were infused syrups and bitters and just all sorts of fun little tinctures and concoctions that I was brewing up at home. And we started selling them at our local farmers markets, which we have quite a lot on the Central Coast.
Yes,
so,
one of the best things.
Yeah, they're fabulous. So that was our first kind of test run of the products. And we started with the number one, it says number one on the label and everything, Lavender Honey.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, so it's the first one and it's my favorite one. Yeah, it's a good one.
Okay.
Still a favorite for both of us.
Yes.
Yeah, and when we started at the farmers markets, it was just sort of on a whim, to be honest. We were in between acting gigs and we were very passionate about what we brought out there, but it just really grew from there right away.
We didn't really, not that we didn't see it as a business, but we didn't see all the potential for all the people out there who didn't know how to make these things at home. I thought it was kind of common knowledge. For me, it was like, oh yeah, of course I can whip up a syrup or this or that. But we discovered a lot of folks had no idea. And we tried to keep our product line, and we still do, really unique. We don't try to make things that you could easily get the ingredients at the grocery store. We try to keep it something maybe a little harder to find and a little more upscale than your average cocktail mixer that you're going to find at BevMo.
A bit more unique and elevated than what you might find on your grocery aisle. And what was unique about the farmers market approach was we have such a great access here in California to produce. And I mean, I know a lot of people know that, but when you're starting out making syrups, it's amazing when the vendor next to you is going to sell you the lemon. We're going to sell you the herbs, the botanicals that you can put right into these things. So it was just, it all sort of came together. It was really made to be a farmer's market product because that was what was going into it. All natural ingredients were so key to our vision for what Yes Cocktail Co. is. And that can only be achieved by really being here on the Central Coast.
It's a huge part of it. And the relationships we developed with the other vendors at the market for the produce we were sourcing, those are relationships we cultivate to this day. To go back to Lavender Honey, lavender is grown like crazy in the Paso Robles area. It's a great region to grow lavender. And we are able to get local crops to put into our batches. And that's something really important to us. And we think it really adds to the quality of the product. The quality ingredients are where it all starts. So for us,
Absolutely. Absolutely. The I remember the first time before we were here in Paso and all of this stuff, we visited the area and we went to the Slow Farmers Market. We just happened to be there on a Thursday night. And well, being our first farmers market, that kind of ruined us for everybody else. Like that market is just incredible. And we walked by and there were blackberries, and I am a blackberry fiend. And they were so big that I was like, oh, these aren't going to be good. Cause I'm thinking grape wise, right? The bunch is
Yeah.
really big. It's not so flavorful, all this stuff. And the guy, the gentleman is like, here, taste it. And I drooled. Like it just was like blackberry. I was like, oh my God. And I bought the container. And I was like, well, I'll take this home to the hotel and we'll do all the, it didn't make it the walk. Like I just was, so good.
It never does.
Yes,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
good. And lavender is my favorite scent on the face of the earth. It is physically impossible for me to walk past a lavender plant and not sweep off a little bit, rub it in my hand, and do a sniff. So I get it. It's all quality ingredients and that's what correlates. And I'm sure if it wasn't quality ingredients, you wouldn't have taken off the way that you did. So
yeah, we definitely like to think so. And it's just so cool to be able to find those ingredients too. Like you said, that pleasant surprise of coming across the blackberries and being so delighted. I mean, that's how we developed so many of our flavors. We were walking through the market and, oh my goodness, oh, look at this, crop that's really thriving right now. Let's buy a bunch of it and try to make something out of it.
A lot of trial and error too, especially in the early days. And we started those markets in 2015. And it was really a word of mouth thing. And we just started to do more and more markets, and the markets led us to retailers, local retailers, and word of mouth led us to retailers actually all over the US now. So we're it'll be our 7th year.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think.
But speaking of the Slow Market, that one is the crown jewel. And I remember us just wanting to be invited to that market so badly. I mean, it was our dream. And when we finally got in, we were just in 7th heaven just to be included. It's awesome. So
it is awesome. Really, so why do you think craft cocktails are so popular now? I mean, you see, craft cocktail, I don't know if the word is a bar, I guess, because it's not really restaurant bars. They're popping up, Alchemist Garden. You have, all of these craft cocktail bars are popping up. Why? To me, it seems all of a sudden, but why do you think it's popular now?
I mean, 2008, 2009 in Manhattan, really, this is where this current boom started. Our parents' generation, they were wine drinkers. Their parents' generation, they were cocktail drinkers. So I think it was just sort of this rediscovery of something different. I think it's also that element of like, I don't necessarily want to do the exact same thing my parents did. So you had these young bartenders who were just, sick of making cosmopolitans, overly sweet, just 90s martinis, and started revisiting really old recipes. And when you go back to the old stuff, you start discovering the possibilities within those old cocktails, because really everything is just a riff on something that's been made before. But the beauty in cocktails is there's so much variety in that. And that started happening, and it just sort of spread. And I mean, it's still spreading to this day. I mean, you saw the craft beer boom sort of maybe a little bit before then, but right now the cocktail renaissance is still happening, and it's happening everywhere.
I think it's still on the upswing. I think we haven't quite reached the peak, but we are obviously pretty in tune with other products out there. And almost every day we see a new mixer company or bitters company or somebody, and some of them come and go, and some of them are going to have the staying power. Of course, we hope we have the staying power, but I think it's definitely still growing, and people are just getting more and more knowledgeable about how to make a drink. I think people are hungry to learn that, the same way people were excited to learn the details of winemaking and the varietals within. They were excited about the craft beer movement, which was huge. And now cocktails is just that next renaissance. And it'll just come, I think it'll be cyclical. I think we'll get excited about different things.
And during the pandemic, with everyone at home, I think a lot of people took pride in learning how to make drinks that they'd ordered out at bars. So that is creating more demand and more knowledge for cocktails just as the years go on. So that's just another element that just continues to add to what's happening right now.
It's funny. I never really thought about it, but what you said about how like this generation, the previous generation wine drinkers, and then their generation, their parents or whatever, cocktail drinkers. That's so true. Cause like, if you think about all of the old shows, like Bewitched and, whatever,
Right.
Father Knows Best and all of that generation, they could, the male comes home from work and the poor wife who spent the entire day in the house doing nothing, cleaning and doing everything, is there, here's a cocktail for you. Never
Right.
a glass of wine. It was always a cocktail. So yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that desire to do something different than what your parents did is strong in all of us.
Well, true. That being said, we do both love wine.
We do both love wine, yeah. So our generation is lucky that we can love all of it.
Right.
We can love beer and
Right.
wine and cocktails.
All the things.
But I definitely remember my grandparents were a huge influence on this business. They owned a liquor store when I was growing up, and they absolutely loved to make their whiskey sours. In fact, here in our tasting room, I have their ice grinder, because back before your refrigerator made fresh crushed ice for you, you had to make your ice, crack it into the grinder, and grind it down for your whiskey.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that their influence and their love of drinks influenced me a lot, and they didn't drink bad drinks, and I think that's a huge thing.
Yeah.
A lot of people in the 80s and 90s drank really bad drinks because they just didn't know what was out
all
there.
those stupid names, right? Like the Sex on the Beach and the Fuzzy Navel. It was just like,
just a little dirty.
Yeah.
And just a little
yeah. And a lot sweet. A lot.
and a lot
Yes.
sweet.
Yeah.
And that's definitely something we were, setting out to avoid in the creation of our product line and just in what we were drinking. Most of our product development came from what was in our glass. We would try a cocktail at a really fabulous bar and say, oh my gosh, this is incredible. Okay, what's in it? Let's try to deconstruct it. Let's try to make it our own. And that's been all the fun for us in making everything.
Yeah, and I think especially at the beginning when we started in 2015, 2016, we dealt with a lot of customers who had been so used to those sweet drinks of the 80s and 90s, that sort of an exciting re-education of cocktails being all about balance. And that's really what they are all about. It's all of the elements coming together. I think a lot of people sort of got burnt out on them because they just thought they were one thing, sweet.
Right. Right. And that, that carries through with a lot of stuff, it carries through in the wine world also, Zinfandel, people hear Zinfandel and they automatically think white Zinfandel and that whole other world. But yeah. So the craft cocktails that you guys are creating, do they have like fancy names? Literally all I know is CNC Manhattan, because my dad drinks CNC Manhattans, but I don't think that classifies as a craft cocktail. That's just a cocktail, right? And I don't know why I know this, but I know boxcar. I can't tell you what's in a boxcar or whatever, but somebody in my family must have drank boxcars, because those are the only two things I know that could be deemed a cocktail other than like a martini,
Right.
But so do you have weird names? Do you create the names, or are you just creating ingredients that make cocktails?
Yeah, we try to be sophisticated enough to come up with some really cutesy names or some really smart names. But ultimately, we're proponents of it should just taste good. But we do name everything. We try to make it cute and fancy. But all cocktails really can be traced back to 6 root cocktails. We refer to them as the mother cocktails. And once you master those, kind of like the art of French cooking, once you master your mother sauces, you can kind of play within those to make your own unique original cocktail.
And jumping off of that, our cocktails, for instance, our orange peel bitters, our number 2 cocktail mixer. You can use that to make an old fashioned. So you can use that to make.
I've heard of that. I've heard of an old fashioned. Okay.
So yes, going back to what you said, it's all sort of playing within those parameters, but creating something unique within them.
Something different. So like, for example, let's take the old fashioned, right? That's a pretty finite cocktail. It's whiskey. So you could choose bourbon or rye. And then it's sugar, which traditionally it's a single sugar cube, which makes it measured, and some bitters, traditionally Angostura bitters, and a couple of spoonfuls of water or at least some ice to dilute it in some way. So it's just sugar, bitters, and whiskey. But I can turn this into a craft cocktail, right? If I just change one thing. So let's say I change the traditional aromatic bitters and I decide I'm going to put in chocolate bitters. Well, now I have a chocolate old fashioned. So I can give it some name. I can call it, like summer in, I don't know. I can't come up with anything good, but I can call it something really fancy. But really all I did was just change one thing. And if I'm really fancy, I can change a couple of elements. I can use Yes Cocktail Company's orange peel and bitters instead of my sugar. And I can use a black walnut bitters. And now I can give it a whole new name. And I've created a new cocktail, but it's just a riff on the original. Right. So there's no shame in that riff part. It's just having the creativity to swap out a couple ingredients.
Yeah, and even going back to the Manhattan, which you mentioned, a Manhattan and a martini are actually related on the same cocktail family tree because you're using a combination of spirit and vermouth. So for a martini, you're probably going to use 2 ounces of gin or vodka and 1 ounce of dry vermouth. For a Manhattan, you're going to use 2 ounces of rye whiskey and 1 ounce of sweet vermouth. So they're all sort of playing in that same ratio. And that's where the fun comes in.
That's cool. That's cool. All right. So let's get a little education here. Okay. So by the way, chocolate bitters and bourbon, it's got to be, you got to play off the name off of Willy Wonka somewhere. It's got to be Willy Wonka. But let's first say bitters. So you had sent me 2 different cube bitters. So let's educate me and everybody else. What is a bitter and what would I do with this?
Okay, so bitters are just a simple extraction of any herb, fruit, or botanical in alcohol or some other kind of chemical that's going to pull flavor. So unfortunately, there are bitters out there created with propylene glycol, which acts similarly to alcohol in that it pulls flavor from a botanical, but that's the same thing as antifreeze. So try to avoid those bitters. You want ones crafted with real
mental note, keep away from those.
So basically think of it like vanilla extract, right? I take my vanilla bean, I soak it in bourbon for X number of months, and I end up with bourbon vanilla extract. Bitters are an extract, and we use them like we would our spice rack. They're adding that little something special to the drink. Oftentimes, if you make a cocktail and you've added your citrus and you've added your simple syrup and you've added your spirit and you're like, this is still kind of lackluster, you're probably missing the bitters.
It's like the seasoning. It's just that little thing that's really gonna round out the other flavors in the beverage. And the cubes come in, we infuse them with the bitters. So for a drink like an old fashioned, we make our old fashioned cubes. We put the 2 dashes of bitters right into the cube. So all you have to do is muddle that into your whiskey and you've got a ready to go old fashioned. So we just combined a couple of steps. Now, those cubes you have in front of you, those are meant for sparkling wine or champagne. And you're you're just going to drop one right into your bubbly and it'll dissolve nicely. And you've got a very quick and easy champagne cocktail.
And this idea happened because we were at a New Year's Eve celebration, and it's not uncommon to see champagne cocktails served just a plain sugar cube in champagne or Prosecco. And I always thought, well, what a shame, because I don't really like super sweet bubbles anyway. And I thought, why are we doing this? Like, it's not adding anything except more sugar. So I thought, well, what if there's bitters on it? So we developed the bitters infused cubes, the lavender lemon and the grapefruit cardamom to, of course, it sweetens it a little bit, but it also adds something more. It's not just sugar for sugar's sake, which I think is always a waste.
And an old champagne cocktail is just some bitters, Angostura bitters and some bubbling.
And sugar,
So if somebody is going to be using these bitters in their sparkling, then they're probably going to want it to be a dry sparkling. Right?
Very important.
Because I don't want to be, having a sweet, a very sweet sparkling and then add it to. Okay.
Yeah. So just put it in something really really, really dry. Obviously, don't open your best bottle of champagne and throw a sugar cube in it. This is, for that bottle that was
A little more
affordable,
fun,
or maybe
right.
it got left behind at a party and
Yeah.
you need a little zhuzh up.
Got-
But those things are also great just with a shot of your favorite spirit and some carbonated water.
Right.
And it makes
Okay.
a really light spritzer type cocktail.
Yeah.
And that amount of sugar is minuscule when compared to most simple syrups. So it won't oversweeten your spirit-based drink.
We're both big gin fans, and I love doing 1 cube with about 2 ounces of gin, and that could either go the lavender lemon cubes or the grapefruit cardamom cubes, some ice and some seltzer, and that's just a really nice, refreshing, super aromatic afternoon cocktail.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to try that with the cocktail, because I have a huge bar that's got all of these, cocktail, gin, bourbon, all of this stuff in it, and we don't drink it. It was, when company comes over,
Right.
and well, not too much company's coming over lately. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to give that a try. So that's bitters. Okay. So I just have a question, like like the TTB, we have to deal with the TTB with the wine world, but there's no alcohol in any of these things. Right. So you don't have to, no signature required. We know that, no signature required to get this delivered. You don't have to deal with the TTB. Do you have to deal with the FDA? Do you have to be?
Yes.
We
Okay.
do. So yeah, we are considered a food product. Although, we're cocktail adjacent, you're right. We don't have any alcohol in the finished drink itself. It's safe to make mocktails, great for kids or people who are non-drinkers as well. But we do use alcohol in our processes. So similarly to vanilla extract, we use alcohol to extract some of our flavors because we really want to use real ingredients rather than fake red dye number 40 and flavor
Right.
number 700. But yeah, no alcohol in the finished drink, in the finished product. So
Right.
that's fun for us. It
Okay.
opens up a lot more possibilities and a lot more ability to ship, which is why,
Right.
like Brandon said, nationwide and internationally as well.
Right. And, in my head, I'm thinking, how cool would it be to have like a little kids party where where they can come in and make non-alcoholic craft drinks and, be like the adults. Probably a bad idea making kids think they're drinking alcohol when they're not.
No.
But I think it would be so cute, they'll come in and they could be like little mini bartenders.
Oh, we've seen it happen
Yeah.
right here. So
Actually, we've even had kids come up at the San Luis Farmers Market. There was a mom and daughter. The daughter was about 11, and the mom was like, "Oh wow, this is so cool!" And she's asking me questions, and the daughter goes, "Yeah, mom, I've had it." And the mother was horrified. She was like, "Where did you have it?" She's like, "At Madison's house." She's like, "What do you mean at Madison?" She's like, "It was a mocktail, mom. That means no alcohol." But yeah, they know what it is, and I think it is a fun way to introduce, new flavors and new
Right.
ideas to kids.
Absolutely.
Not necessarily promoting alcohol, but
right. We have a lot
Absolutely.
of fun flavors and unique things that you could also make great lemonades with.
for sure.
Yeah. All right. So you also sent cocktail mixers. So,
Yes.
well, actually, so I've got a cocktail mixer, cucumber, jalapeno.
One of our most popular.
Yes.
Jalapeno. I love jalapeno.
Yeah.
Blackberry and pomegranate. And as
Yep.
you know, I like fiend over that. And then your number one, lavender honey. So what makes a cocktail mixer? What would be the definition of a cocktail mixer?
So our mixers contain simple syrup, bitters, and fresh citrus. So they've really got the whole elements covered. The idea with those is that you should be able to just have a few ingredients on hand and be able to make a great drink right away. We also have a line of syrups, which are just simple syrups on their own. When you use those, typically you're
So
going to
does
need
this
some.
Is this the
Yeah.
syrup? Okay,
Yes.
so the
Yeah.
passion fruit syrup. Okay.
Right. You'll need some other ingredients on hand. The idea of the cocktail mixer is that it's ready to go and it's
Okay.
easy to mix.
Yeah, it's the most user friendly. I think
Yeah.
for a long time, cocktail mixers for folks just kind of meant corn syrup, some kind of flavor, maybe some citric acid, and it didn't really yield a very good result. So we set out to kind of reformulate what a
Right.
cocktail mixer is. And basically we just broke down a good cocktail, which should contain alcohol, which isn't in our mixer, right? And then citrus, that's in there. Simple syrup, got it. And bitters, we put that in there. So we just made a perfect cocktail. And by perfect, I mean the perfect ratio between sweet and acid and flavor, and then just removed the spirit from it. And as a result, we ended up with a product that's pretty versatile, because with Lavender Honey, I can make a gin cocktail with that, or a whiskey cocktail with that, and I can give each one of those a cool, fun name, but use the same mixer. So that's been really fun for us, is to see like the versatility of each product. It's not locked into one drink. It's not just margarita mix.
Yeah, we've
Right.
made them intentionally to be versatile.
So for this, basically, if I wanted to make this, I would do vodka. That's about the only,
Okay.
like,
Yep.
I can do rum, but it's not my favorite, right? The only rum I really can do is already those like flavored stuff, which I know is horrible, but those things.
Right.
So, but like, I'll take vodka. And then like, what would I do with this? How would I make my drink?
Yeah, so we do put some instructions on the bottle
Yes,
for you
you
to make.
do.
Degrees,
Thank
but,
you.
Yes.
Really, yes, we try to break down the cocktail, but what we recommend for a really perfect drink is 1 ounce of our mixer, 2 ounces of your spirit of choice, and 3/4 of an ounce of some fresh citrus. That's just going to plus it up. You don't always see the citrus, but using a little bit of fresh citrus is just going to give it that nice little zing for the finished cocktail.
And we mentioned before that we include citrus in the mixer,
Right.
and we do. But adding that 3/4 ounce, sometimes even just half an ounce, which is basically just half of a lemon or lime in your drink, there's nothing that can replace fresh citrus. So when you go to the grocery store, you buy a lemon, right? Or you buy that little plastic.
A little plastic,
right?
yeah.
The taste difference is insane. Like, you just cannot get the same taste as a fresh lemon or lime or orange or really grapefruit, any of the citruses.
Yeah.
So that's why we recommend adding back in that little bit of citrus. It's going to take the drink from being oh, this is okay, to being, oh, this is a cocktail. This is something I would order out. And that citrus is a key element to that. So that instruction's on the bottle. We tell you to throw that back in. But let's say you were using the blackberry pomegranate to make a wine cocktail.
Yes.
Like that one.
Oh, do I get to drink now? Do I get to drink now?
That one,
All
I
right.
love a little splash in white
Do I
wine.
need to shake it? Do I need to do anything with this?
Yeah, give it a little shake up. It doesn't need to be anything aggressive, just enough to get anything that may have settled, because we do use real ingredients. We don't use emulsifiers, which suspend particles within a product, right? So give it a little shake, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, because speaking of those local ingredients, the blackberries and pomegranates in that one are all sourced within 40 miles of here.
Yep.
So that is all local Central Coast produce.
Okay.
Good stuff.
So what you asked me to bring. So I have your Yes Cocktail Co. I have lemon juice. I have sparkling wine, and I have a white wine. So
I think you can go sparkling or white wine for the blackberry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think let's do a white wine cocktail to start.
Okay. All right. Tell me what to do. I gotta first open it.
And do you have a cocktail shaker there?
I do. No, do I need ice? I don't have ice.
That's okay. You don't have
The wine is cold.
Yeah, that's
because it's a white wine. Okay.
And Brandon mentioned the shaker. The shaker isn't a necessity. A lot of our drinks are designed to mix in the glass.
Right.
Okay.
Obviously, it's just easier. So if you do want to mix in your glass since your wine's already chilled, that's totally fine.
The wine is cold.
Okay.
Let's just do it right in the glass.
Oh, okay. I was like, I never get to use my mixer, but okay, we can do it right in my glass. So, and I don't, obviously, since I don't do a lot of cocktails, this is like my glass.
Perfect.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right. So what do I do?
Mixer. We'll do 1 ounce of our mixer. Now, I don't know what you have.
She came prepared with a shot glass measure.
Now, these are things sometimes you can eyeball, but since you've got that.
Yep.
So 1 shot glass.
1 shot glass.
I wish I could do it on camera, but I'm afraid I'll spill it.
Yeah, a shot is about 1.5 ounces. That's full up right there. So actually, that'll be fine for this ratio.
That's fine.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So definitely check your measuring tools at home to verify, because cocktail jiggers, which are the most common way to measure a cocktail, can vary in size. Some designed for bars are going to be 1.5 ounce pours, but for home use, some are 2 ounce, which is the ideal cocktail amount, but bars serve you.
This was purchased for me as a gift when I was in college. So I'm going to say it's kind of a bigger shot glass.
Okay. All right. So then let's do some citrus. So for the lemon juice, we're going to do half of that shot glass.
Okay.
And that'll give a nice balance, because for this drink that we're making, we're using wine, not hard liquor spirit. So it's
Perfect.
not as harsh. Yep.
Good.
That should be nice. And now you're going to want to do 2 or 3 shot glasses of your wine. Now, if we were using spirit, we would be doing 2 ounces of spirit. But since we're using wine, we want to at least double that. And maybe even triple it, depending on your preferences. We have some customers who love to taste our mixer as the predominant note, and others who really want to taste their wine and have the mixer kind of.
Well, I think I would like to taste your mixer because it's blackberry pomegranate. So I would like that. 3?
3 or
2, did you say?
well, yeah, 2, sure.
They're bigger shot glasses. I'll do 2.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. So this is a Riesling. It is a dry Riesling.
Okay.
Excellent.
Yes, it is.
Great.
A
Perfect
completely dry Riesling. All right.
Cheers.
So I'll say slancha. Oh, this is good. This is good. This could, like, if you were doing like, this could get you in trouble because
Which
I think is a problem with cocktails in general. Like when they're good cocktails, I think you don't really taste that alcohol. And
When you
this is so good.
When you strike that perfect balance, when you get that perfect balance in a cocktail, that's when they're like just so drinkable, right? Because if it's too sweet, you get tired of it. If it's too harsh, you get tired of it. But if it's just right, that's when you can drink a lot of it. And that's when it's dangerous.
This is really good. I'm going to finish this before this interview so you can walk me through another episode, another drink.
Absolutely.
And honestly, if it's only 2 shots of wine, we can keep going.
Okay.
So what is the difference? You said this was the mixer where everything was combined, but I don't think you explained what this is a syrup, right?
Right. So syrups are bar staples, and our line of syrups were really inspired by local bartenders and nationwide bartenders saying, I love your product. It's so cool. But using a mixer is kind of like a dirty word if you're a bartender. It's just not, it just makes you seem like you don't know what you're doing behind the bar because you want to be doing everything from scratch.
Okay.
So our mixer or our syrup line was really designed to please those customers who wanted something more professional and wanted to make sure that they were showing off their best stuff. So a simple syrup that like what we make is 50% cane sugar and 50% something else. So the one you have is passion fruit. So that would be a passion fruit puree. We also make a cold brew coffee syrup. That one is the other half coffee. We make a few infused syrups. So we do a charred oak and maple that's infused with a bourbon barrel aged syrup with the maple to it. So something a little bit different there. And we also do a line of tonic syrups that are meant to make vodka tonics or gin and tonics. So all of these are going to be heavier in sugar, not because we are trying to yield a sweeter cocktail, but because we use more ingredients when we create the finished drink.
Okay.
And that's just, basic mixology usually calls for infused syrup.
The mixer is for lazy people at home who don't want to have all of the ingredients and just want to be able to open one bottle, pour it in, and add whatever alcohol they want.
Right.
And then the syrups, they're going to have other ingredients to put together to kind of make their own mixer type thing.
Right, exactly. And there are some exceptions to that. For instance, the passion fruit syrup, you can honestly just add a splash of that to some Prosecco and you're going to be good to go. But for the most part, you're going to need some other ingredients on hand when you use them.
Yes.
Okay. And now this is not a shrub. This is different than a shrub.
I'm
Right?
so glad you brought up shrubs because actually our original business plan was all about shrubs. I was obsessed. I loved them. And as we started taste testing with folks, we had so many bad reactions to the shrubs that we were like blown away. And that's actually what led us to develop our mixer and the combination.
Yeah.
So when you make a shrub, it's a combination of sugar, flavor, which is usually like berries, strawberry, blackberry, right? And vinegar. We took the vinegar element out and replaced it with fresh citrus and bitters to develop our mixers.
Yeah, shrubs are colonial era. It was a way to preserve fruits over time when ships had to make large crossings. So that's the old history of the shrub. But in general, you do see them a lot popping up in trendy craft cocktails. However, when you're starting a business and you're out there tasting things, some people have a very visceral reaction to vinegar, as we find.
They freak out.
Yeah, and I think especially we have that note of, vinegar is like a wine that's gone bad, especially when you're people that aren't necessarily familiar with cocktails or the concept of a shrub. It's sort of a difficult approach. So we both like shrubs a lot. I definitely think they're a little bit more divisive and they're more specific.
But you could make a shrub using our mixer. All you do is combine 3 parts mixer to 1 part vinegar, and it will make an instant shrub. And you can just add that to your spirit or to carbonated water. But shrubs and wine can be a very off-putting, especially if you've ever tasted wine that's gone bad and they say it tastes like vinegar. So that can be off-putting for people who are very much into wine. But for mixing with spirits, shrubs are so delicious.
And especially if they're an element of other ingredients in a complex 5 or 6 ingredient cocktail, they can really be phenomenal.
Yeah, I love a good shrub.
So am I right? Probably not. But am I right in saying that the shrub would be more equivalent to your mixer than to the syrup?
Yes. No, you nailed it.
Oh, okay. All right.
You're better at this than you think, All
right. I'm getting it. It's just vinegar versus the citrus. So it's going to be a different palate experience for it.
Exactly. Yeah, because you want to get that acid from somewhere. And we've been talking a lot about this balance, right? It's what we're trying to strike in our food, what we're trying to get in our wine, and the same with the cocktail. And it's that combination of the alcohol, which I guess we'll call that the burn, the sweetness from your fruit and your sugars, and then your acid. And that can come from vinegar, it can come from citrus, it can be multiple sources that you get acid from, but you definitely want that in your drink. It's that little zing that keeps you coming back for more and doesn't make it too sweet.
Now, do some of these recommend better with wine or not? I'm sorry. Do some of these recommend better with vodka versus bourbon versus gin? Or is it literally just whatever the heck I like? I mean, I'm sure at some aspect it's whatever I like is what I like, but do some go towards different ingredients?
Yeah.
Some were definitely built with certain spirits in mind. On the back of every bottle, we put a list of what we think they go best with. But going back to what you just said, we have had customers come in and tell us combinations that we had never thought of.
I'm sorry. I just read it. This is called Smokey and the Bandit. So I just laughed. Sorry.
See, we got a cute one in there one time.
Occasionally we'll land on something fun. But yeah, we've had customers come back to us with ideas that were not what we thought, and we've absolutely loved them.
Yeah.
So we find the mixer line, especially, it really has become whatever you like.
One of the main ones that blew us away, actually, going back to wine, is our cucumber jalapeno that we sent you. Okay. We intended that to be for margaritas, tequila, maybe some gin or vodka. We had a local winemaker approach us and say, have you tried your cucumber jalapeno with my Albarino? And I was like, why would you ever do that? I love your Albarino. I would never
touch it,
mess it up like that. He said, oh no, just try it. And we made a pitcher of what we now refer to as our spicy sangria. And it is the most delicious combination with a dry white wine. And we never in a million years would have come up with that. So customers definitely have inspired a little more diversity in our own drinking as well.
And that also touches off of something, which is that we really want to highlight the spirit or who we're working with. We don't want the flavors to overpower it. We think it all needs to work together. So that was a cool moment of collaboration.
Yeah. And that's actually why we're called Yes Cocktail Company. Without getting too nerdy on you, saying yes is the first rule of improvisational acting, which is like where you make up the scene on the fly. It's usually comedy based, and you say yes, and
that furthers the scene. And if you say no, the scene stops dead in its tracks.
Right.
We've extrapolated that into sort of how we look at life, how we look at cocktails, saying yes and just keeping and adding to it and keep moving forward.
Yeah. So if I've got this great whiskey, I'm going to say yes. And I'm going to put this blackberry pomegranate in it. It's going to be great. Like just keep the ball rolling and collaborate. And definitely we want the spirit or the wine or whatever we're mixing with to sing. We want people to notice it in the drink. We're not trying to cover it up with our, corn syrup based mixers. We're trying to highlight real herbs and botanics and fruit.
Okay. So my glass is empty. And
Yes.
I have sparkling. So would it be the same mixture if I'm using sparkling, or would it be something different, or what do you think?
Yeah, when you use the sparkling, you don't want to agitate those beautiful bubbles too much. So typically with sparkling, I think using a cube might be really fun.
You can try one of the cubes, or I love the lavender honey with a splash of sparkling and not a splash, a pour of sparkling and a splash of citrus.
Yeah.
And then if you want to turn that into our riff on the French 75, which is a classic champagne cocktail, you just add a shot of gin to it.
Oh, I don't have gin in my little room here, so but we'll have to keep that. Okay, so I have my little cube. This is the lavender cube that goes in first.
Yes,
it does.
Because this one is a slow burn, if you will. It slowly dissolves over time, and that's kind of the point. Some people can even get 2 pours of champagne out of a single cube. God. It's super aromatic.
So good. People who aren't watching, you have no idea, but I am sniffing this cube and it is so good. It is so aromatic. Okay, so cube goes in my glass and then just fill the glass with my drink.
That's it.
Pour yourself the bubbles.
That's pretty easy.
It's really easy. And if you want a little hint of citrus, it's great to, use your peeler and give yourself a little lemon garnish and put that over the top to really
make it look fancy.
Yeah. But a little splash of fresh lemon juice works wonders.
Beautifully. Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much.
So then my guess is that you want to wait till the cube dissolves before you start drinking, or do you drink it while it's?
Yeah, traditionally with champagne cocktails, they're served with the cube still in process of dissolving.
Right. So it sort of becomes even more of a treat as you go on.
Yeah.
Beautiful. You can see the cube in there. Yeah. So how much? There it is. How much citrus do you think this dissolves quickly?
Touch. Like, imagine if you had a wedge and you squeezed that amount. A teaspoon at the most.
A teaspoon. For that quantity of bubbly, I would say a teaspoon would be great.
Because you don't want to blow it out of the water. You still want to taste it.
Okay.
Champagne too.
Right. Do it. So now it just adds more
bubbles. And it's definitely going to be a lot more subtle than the mixer. It's just a hint.
But you can smell it.
Yes.
Good.
The aromatic
totally
will
smell it.
Yeah, just that little hint of bitters.
Oh wow. That's awesome, because like I had a glass of it before. I had to open it.
Yeah.
And it's a completely different flavor. And completely different flavor. And it's the aromatics as wine is so into your face, and you want that nose, you want that aromatics, and it's a beautiful wine, but this is now a different beautiful wine.
Right. Cool. Yeah. And I hope that you're noticing you're still tasting notes of wine, but just in a different way. I mean, it's almost like a pairing, and it's a new wine when you taste it with a different.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you know what? It didn't sweeten it up. Like it didn't become a sweet wine at all.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, that cube will slowly dissolve for you. So you can add more on top. There's no rules. You just keep going.
Right.
So each cube would be about a 5-ounce pour of wine?
Yes.
About,
yeah,
okay,
that's what we
perfect.
recommend.
Perfect. Oh my God. Oh, it's going to be a fun night tonight.
Yes, that's what we like to hear.
So if somebody wanted to get into the craft cocktail game here, right, at home, what are some key things they need to have in their house? What are the staples? You know, like I thought I was going to be using my little mixer here, and you said I didn't need it. So what are the staples that somebody needs to make sure they have in the house so that they can start using Yes Cocktail Co. and not go, damn, I got to go to the store.
Right. Yeah.
Well, definitely, if we do one more drink, we'll definitely have you use the mixer. Because the mixer, I think, is important, especially if in terms of dilution, it's a nice tool to have.
Yeah, shakers are great to have, but in a pinch, if you don't have a true shaker, because I was going to say that's one of the staples, a mason jar or anything with a tight fitting lid work great.
Okay.
It really all you're doing with a shaker is combining the ingredients in a vigorous shaking manner and adding dilution, ice. You're melting the ice, adding a little water, and reducing the burn that you're going to feel from the alcohol. So you want a good shaker.
Jigger. Let me grab one.
A measuring device.
Yeah.
So Brandon says a cocktail jigger, which I do agree with. But you could use any measuring device. A tablespoon. Actually, one of our favorite measuring devices at home is actually a little glass Pyrex that has the ounce measurements and tablespoons on there and milliliters, I think, too.
That one's a beauty, actually. That's my favorite thing. Now,
I think they're like $1.99 at the grocery store.
We're holding up a nice fancy copper one right now, but that little Pyrex thing, I swear to you, when I make cocktails at home, I end up using that.
I know. We love it so much. I think we should just sell them because we're always talking about it. But
there you go.
A good cocktail is nice.
And if you're thinking about getting in, like you said, just starting on your craft cocktail journey, it's important to have a variety of spirits on hand. Not everyone likes everything, but especially if you're starting out, I think it's really important to have vodka, gin, and whiskey.
Yeah.
To start, I know.
Yeah. At the very least, one clear spirit like vodka or gin, and one amber colored spirit like rum, bourbon, or sometimes even something aged like a mezcal or something.
And sweet vermouth and dry vermouth.
Yeah, you gotta have them. People are really afraid of vermouth, and vermouth is amazing and delicious once you get into it, and it's so necessary for so many drinks.
Yes.
And then we talked earlier about citrus. Gotta have good, fresh citrus. So maybe that means you need to go out and buy a little hand juicer. If you're not somebody who wants to squeeze a lemon or a lime, that hurts.
But yeah, they're pretty tough to squeeze.
Right. And sometimes limes, it can be like you squeeze and you get like the tiniest drop of lime juice. But you definitely want to have some fresh citrus.
If you've got those things and you've got a Yes Cocktail Co. mixer or one of our syrups, I think you'll be in pretty good shape, especially if you're just starting. Yeah. It does become a rabbit hole, very much like wine does.
Yeah. Yes. And what about your garnishes? You also sell garnishes. So I don't take this wrong, this question, because I'm like, this is going to come out wrong. I know as I'm writing it, but does it do anything to the cocktail itself, or is it just pretty picture?
I'm so glad you asked, because that is like the most common question we get. And I agree with you that it can seem like, why am I doing this? But cocktails tend to not have the aromatic qualities that you'd get from a fabulous wine, right? Everyone loves the nose of a wine is sometimes even more delicious than the taste. It's part of the experience. And a good cocktail should have some type of aromatic. And oftentimes without a garnish, it just doesn't. So you absolutely, that little twist of lemon or that orange peel.
Yeah, the orange peel's in an old fashioned. I mean, when the bartender expresses the orange peel right around that glass, that's giving you all that nose action. When
you take a peel and you squeeze it, right, and all those oils come out, that's what you're adding to the cocktail. More so than the visual and the peel itself. It's that oil that's really enhancing the drink, and you do need it.
And once you really versed in cocktails, you can start picking out the nose of different Amaros and vermouths and spirits. But yeah, I think that they're an aromatic. One thing that we do sell are our little dehydrated citrus garnishes. And the reason I like those is because they're going to give you a nice aromatic, but also they just sink down into the drink. And at the end, you got a little treat to enjoy because it's been sitting in the cocktail.
It's a snack. You should eat it. Like,
Yeah.
we eat all of the broken pieces because
Yeah.
we sort them, to make sure
Yeah.
you only get perfect pieces. And they're delicious.
Yeah.
They're definitely a part of it. Don't throw it away.
And honestly, sometimes they're just fun. They're just fun to look at.
Yeah.
I guess at that point they're absorbing some of that liquid. I know my dad in his CNC Manhattan has to have 2 cherries. God forbid the bartender doesn't give him 2 cherries. But he saves them to the very end, and then he drinks them then he eats it because unless my mom's with him, then he gives them to my mom. He's such the gentleman. But I'm sure it's absorbed quite a bit of that
Yes.
alcohol.
Oh, they have. And I am notorious. If anybody leaves a cherry in a cocktail, I don't care.
She'll go around the table.
I will go around the table and take everyone's cherry. They're the best part. Not strangers, though.
Not strangers. Okay. Clarify that.
The CDC does not recommend taking.
No,
Yeah.
especially currently.
So I saw on your website that you actually also sell kits. So what's included in that kit that makes it a kit?
Right. Well, right now we're going to be changing up our kits, our kit selections, but they're still going to have the same vibe, which is we're trying to help novices and seasoned professionals alike to select the right products for them. So we've broken them into categories based on spirit. So you can buy our vodka kit or our gin kit, and we're giving you what we feel is our favorite pairings for those spirits. They're really going to highlight those spirits.
And that's just an insight into us and what we think.
It's a little bit our opinion. So we can be wrong.
Right.
But for example, like our tonic, we put that in our vodka kit, and we do think that our tonic is fabulous in vodka. It's our favorite pairing with that particular syrup. So we have put it together.
One of our favorite kits are our old-fashioned kits. We have our classic old-fashioned kits and our modern old-fashioned kits. And in there, you'll find the modern old-fashioned is really fun because we have our coffee syrup in there. We have a cocktail called the cold fashioned, which is like a cold brew coffee old-fashioned. And that is just one of my favorite things that we've ever come up with.
It's delightful. And a lot of people may not have thought of that. When they look at the coffee syrup, they go, what the heck am I going to do with this? So the kits are just kind of designed to point you in the right direction.
And they're expressions of what we like.
Yeah.
Well, that's good because you know what? Maybe somebody wants to venture into a different realm, and then if the kit is there to this can go with this, it's a little more of a gentle push into that.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you're more guaranteed to enjoy yourself because it's the right pairings. Where you might be really bummed if you're a whiskey drinker and you order our cucumber jalapeno and mix it with your bourbon and say, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. Well, it was the wrong pairing.
And lastly, on the kits, they're really fun if everybody knows someone that likes a specific spirit. So just from a shopping perspective, it's easy when, Jenny likes gin. So I know what to grab Jenny from.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And then you also do mixology experiences, right? So you can do private parties at your tasting room. So tell us about the experience. What happens if somebody wants to buy an experience?
It's our most favorite and fun thing. So basically we teach you Mixology 101, but we meet you where you are. If you're somebody who knows a ton about cocktails, or we're gonna come up to your level. So if you already know all these basics, we'll teach you how to take it a step further. But if you're just learning about cocktails,
dipping your toes into the cocktail,
we can teach you the basics. A lot of the things we've talked about today, the simple ratios of how to make a properly made drink, how to make the right kind of garnish, what kind of glassware you want to serve it in, because that can get very expensive, but also very fun. We're definitely proponents of using whatever glass you have and enjoy yourself, but sometimes the right glassware can really enhance the experience.
And if you check out our website, we have a bunch of different classes that we offer. So the idea there is, depending on what you're interested in, going back to what we talked about earlier, the 6 mother cocktails, that's actually one of our most popular classes where we teach you about the classics and then we tell you how to make a modern riff on the classics.
And by the end of the class, you will actually make your own riff, your own custom created cocktail. And I'm yet to try one that's bad because every
Right.
guest is always like, well, tell me what you really think. And actually they've all been really good.
Yeah.
One I've even stolen and put on our website as a cocktail. I gave credit to the person.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they're actually really good. And we just want to give people the tools to feel like they can make something incredible at home. I think the task of making a cocktail can feel really daunting for folks. And we want it to be as simple and as fun as opening a bottle of really fabulous wine or opening up a really great beer. It should be a part of the experience that isn't stressful.
Yeah, and
I think a lot of people get stressed.
One of our visions from the beginning is, cocktail bars, especially as this modern speakeasy has come around, and those places are really fun, but they can be imposing and intimidating.
Yeah.
And it's all very shrouded in darkness, and that can have a fun effect, but can also have the effect of deterring people from trying things or being able or not feeling like they could ever make that at home. So we're sort of demystifying cocktailry.
Right. You think about the wine world, right? You say to somebody, oh, I've got this fabulous Bordeaux, and people are like, oh, Bordeaux, and they start to get nervous and, oh, it's got to be expensive, and which it doesn't.
Right.
But, they have this brain set of what a Bordeaux is, and then they back down, or even just a simple tasting. People are afraid to say, well, I get blackberry, and is that right? You always get, is that right? Well, if you're tasting blackberry, it's right,
Right. Yeah.
So you're doing the same thing. I think craft cocktails in a different way has that same fear factor of people of, oh, this is a big deal, a cocktail, and it's really not. But
Right. And there are, there can be some gatekeeping of secret recipes and approaches and very mystifying stuff. But the truth is, anybody can make a great drink at home. We really believe that. And it can be elevated and easy to make. That's something that we're all about too.
Yeah. So our classes are definitely designed to do just that, to teach people how to make a good drink and how to make it their own and make it really fun. We just love cocktails and cocktail parties, and we want everyone to love them as much as we do, and not be scared to give something new a try.
Right.
That's awesome. Now, if your tasting room is on Union Road, right? Right at that intersection. You're behind Brochelle? Are you?
Yeah.
Okay. So if somebody comes to Paso and something I say all the time, definitely come to Paso for the wine, but there is so much more to do in Paso than just wine. So if they're going to come to your tasting room, do they need an appointment to taste? What is your tasting? Run us through. I'm coming to your place for a tasting.
Well, it's actually really exciting right now. We've taken over the space next to us, which is very exciting for us. We're actually building out an all new tasting room. Right now, we're booking just our classes right now.
Okay.
So you do need an appointment for that. But if you're coming in to just pick up a bottle, we're always open.
Yeah.
So our bottle shop is still happening right now.
And we're by appointment only because, as Brandon said, we're taking over the space next to us and expanding. And our current space is really tight. So it's small, and we want to make sure that you get an awesome experience. So if you just make an appointment ahead, it's really simple. You can book online, and you will have our undivided attention.
Yes.
All of our appointments are completely private appointments.
Right.
So you can bring up to 14 guests will fit in our
Wow.
Yeah. So it's a really fun way to get to know our product line and to get to know how to make some drinks. So if you don't want to make an appointment and do the full-on mixology class, come in, check out our bottle shop, chat with us. We'll take you through what products we have available. We do a lot of fun seasonal things that you could only get here in our tasting room. So you can come and get those, and check it all out.
Yeah.
So if somebody's doing the class, are they bringing their own alcohol, or
bring your own spirits? We are not currently distilling. It's something that maybe will be in the works down the line. But yeah, it's bring your own spirits. So that's awesome for you because you know you're gonna like it.
Right?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and it's great here because we get a lot of folks that have come to Paso, and we have a distillery trail here in SLO County. I mean, there's a lot of great local spirits, and we've got lots of recommendations, and a lot of folks will come here with stuff they bought locally in hand, and they're ready to mix them and put those spirits to work in a cocktail right away. So it's a nice symbiotic relationship we really have with distillers, winemakers.
Yeah,
Really,
like that's awesome. That's it's like they can go buy a white wine at a winery and then bring it to you and use it for a mix, or they can go to one of our multiple distilleries and purchase it and come to you. So it's like small business supporting small business. You can't get better than that.
Seriously, yeah. It's a great thing, and we're really happy to be a part of that community, and it's awesome for us.
I gotta say, Paso is the best. I don't care. There's no other place like Paso. Just the people in Paso, just everything is Paso cares about Paso.
Totally.
Yeah.
And that is not true everywhere.
No,
right.
The most staggering thing that we always see here about Paso is, you're going to come into a winery here, you're going to come into our tasting room here, you're going to meet the person who makes the product. Yeah. That's really not the case. That's not the case in Napa. That's not the case really anywhere. And right now, that's just sort of what is so wonderful and unique about what's happening here.
Yeah,
absolutely. I do have one question that I forgot to ask. So now that I have opened this, what do I do? Because I can't drink this entire thing tonight because I won't get up tomorrow. So what do I do with this once you open one of your bottles?
So refrigerate our products after opening. If you are worried that you won't use it within 8 weeks, which is what we recommend before it doesn't spoil, but it will be more lackluster in flavor, you can freeze it in your ice cube tray. Then it will be portion size. You can throw it in a Ziploc baggie, keep it in the freezer, and you're ready to go whenever you need your next drink. And it'll keep forever.
Yep. I do that with pesto, by the way.
Yes.
And is that right? You get all of that basil. So at the end of the summer, you make all of that pesto, and then you just put it in an ice cube tray and good to go.
Golden.
Exactly. And we'll often have customers say, well, it's past 8 weeks and it's still in there. Oftentimes, we just recommend that's the optimal flavor time. That doesn't mean it's an unusable product after that time.
Yeah.
We want to stress that.
Yeah, it's just a preferred best by date.
Correct.
It's not a hard.
And is that for the syrup also? The same thing? Okay.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
Syrups. And then the cubes don't matter.
Yep.
Forever. Yeah, you're good.
So just keep them in a dry location.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Not wet.
So we're at the hour, and I always try not to keep somebody longer than an hour because I know everybody is so busy. Small businesses are go, 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 go. But did I miss anything that you want to mention about Yes Cocktail Co. or about any of the products or anything like that? Did I miss anything?
No, I don't think so. Just our website, yescocktailco.com, is a really great resource. You can look through all of our stuff. We've got some great recipes. That's something that we're going to be expanding on this year. We have a lot more to add there. And additionally, follow us on Instagram or join our mailing list. That's going to give you the most up-to-date information about what we're doing and what's new. We've got some really fun new stuff in the works flavor-wise for the next couple months, and that will be announcing soon. So that's really all we're
But it has been a pleasure to talk to you. And I really do think you are a budding mixologist.
Yes.
Before you know it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, now that I've got some really awesome ingredients here, I can go, I can really explore more now because this is good. This is good stuff.
Right.
So my husband's going to come home and I'm going to go, okay, look at that. I'm going to do this now. Okay. So I'll impress him.
Very good. Yeah,
I'll impress him. So yeah. And then we'll have to stop by and see you in real life. Our winery is just down the road. So we're just off of airport. So we're not far from you guys at all. So we will stop in to say hi the next time we are around. But thank you so much for joining me and for sending me all of this stuff. I cannot wait to try the other flavors, the other mixers. The Lavender Honey is just calling my name. But thank you so much. And I appreciate you taking the time, and have a great, well, it's Thursday, but have a great weekend, and hope you have fun. I don't know, any big plans?
Actually, yeah, we're actually taking a weekend off
Yes.
for like the first time.
Nice. Good for
Yes, we both had to
you.
check and remember where the
Like,
heck we were, what was going on. Yeah.
Yeah,
Good
it's
for
been a
you.
crazy
Yeah.
holiday
Yeah.
season, so
Yeah.
we're excited to have
Yeah.
a weekend off.
It's that's a small business, man. It's a tough gig. It's a tough gig. So good for you. Kudos for you for taking the weekend off. And I appreciate you coming on. And I'm so happy to be able to share this with my listeners, because this is some seriously good stuff. And I've got vodka in the house. I've got it.
Right.
I'm going to go give it a try. So thank you very much, and have a wonderful weekend. And I have one last little swig left. So I'll say slancha again, and thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks
It's
for
been a
having us.
blast.
Have a good
Appreciate it.
one. Bye.
Bye.